Friends of Williamson'S Tunnels is a really interesting visitors attraction. 2 sites where you can actually observe people carrying out excavations and clearances of tunnels and underground chambers, and then you can also learn about the characters who were involved, the history of the site.
I'm Lynn, I'm a trustee, I'm a volunteer, and it's easier to say what I don't do than I do, but yeah, I'm very hands-on. If there's anything I can do, I'll do it.
Well, FoWT basically is a group of volunteers.
Friends of Williamson'S Tunnels is a group of volunteers who just want to expose all these tunnels and bring them to life after they've been filled and lost for so many years, so that the people of the country or the world can come and see them.
Basically, what we do is anything and everything that needs doing, whether it's digging out, whether it's helping move stuff around.
And we developed from a pressure group in about 1996 to become quite a large local history society with about 1,400 members, I believe. And we developed and became a limited company and a registered charity as well.
I think the most interesting aspect is the fact that there's still a lot of mystery or unknown knowledge about why it was done, what happened to the workers when he died, did it just all stop and then he paid off and disappeared?
I'm John, been with FoWT for the past 5 years, going up to 6 years. Just working this top man while the lads are working on the ground, safety reasons, make sure nothing goes wrong, keeping the place tidy.
Well, Williamson came to Liverpool in about 1780 as an 11-year-old boy, and he spent a number of years working up through the tobacco firm of his boss Richard Tate.
And he worked his way through the business, he learned the job, he became very good at what he was doing. He married the boss's daughter, which was a good move. He managed the business, he became very rich in doing so, and he bought this area of land to build a house for himself and his wealthy friends, and he just took it from there.
Some lunatic. But a nice lunatic. I'd love to go back in time and spend an hour with him and get into his head and find out what he was doing.
To me, he was an entrepreneur, a man that made his money in the tobacco trade and then used the money that he'd made in lots of philanthropic exercises and enterprises after he'd retired from his wholesaling or business trade in tobacco.
And he was building houses and digging out these quarries and bolting over them.
That, and then him taking on the dumped on the shore soldiers, not from the Napoleonic Wars, and using masons to teach other people what to do, and you can see the features that are being created, the wonderful arches.
Okay, this is our tunnels plan. It looks quite cluttered, but the main thing is that there are 3 areas in yellow on here of tunnels that are accessible at the moment, and the one in the centre here is the house site halfway along Mason Street. We're actually up here on the site of the Paddington cellars at the moment, and then on the other side of the railway this is an area of tunnels that's run by the Joseph Williamson Society, completely separate from us. This is a bit of a fabulous moment for a lot of visitors who come down here who've never been before, because they turn the corner there and step out into this and look down and they think, wow. And a lot of people have said this is a bit like being in the pyramids. And this comes from people who've actually been in the pyramids as well, and they think this is great. But it soon opens out into the banqueting hall. Mason Street is the house that we're underneath at the moment. We're in part of the cellar of 44 Mason Street, which is the house that Joseph Williamson built and lived in himself until he died in 1840. He built houses all along this street. Whether that was the original intention or whether he just came up here to build himself a house, we'll never really know. So I tend to think the original intention was just to build himself a house, but somehow it's evolved.
When you find something, this was completely filled with rubble right to the top. You could touch the roof here when we first came. And then a bucket at a time, and we started taking it out, hoisting it up to the surface, dumping it. And eventually the spoil got to the bottom and we cleared it all out. And when we finally stood back and looked at it, we said, wow, what a job. We'd emptied that out, but look at what we found. It's amazing to find an excavation like this, and we're proud of it.
One of the main attractions for me is I've volunteered as an amateur archaeologist on many different types of sites, in many different environments, but I've never found one like this that's so unique and interesting and such a large scale, and that's why I keep coming back.
Shovels, pickaxes occasionally when we had to, when it was very compacted spoil, and trowels when we were being archaeologically correct, when there was a lot of finds in the spoil, and it was all done that way. We discovered the gin wheel as well, very 19th century, and we brought it into the 20th century. A gin wheel and a rope with a hook on the end works wonders for bringing spoil up from 60 feet below ground, and it all came up that way.
There's not been a single best moment. The whole idea of finding Williamson's tunnels is a eureka moment. We find another tunnel, we think, wow. We find a stone staircase, we think, wow. And we find something else, it's just wow, all the way along. And until I lose the excitement, I'm going to keep coming.
And then, yeah, well, Paddington's my baby, I love Paddington.
You know, you can see, not so much in this one, I mean, you can see a sandstone wall through there, so that's it, that's the end of your workings. And each one of these is basically a square cut chamber going right down, and then they've created these floors at different levels. And you know, you can see through this hole here, there's the roof brickwork, just here about 6 inches, 9 inches below the floor level. So that's what's here. You've got exactly the same. So above here, you'd think you would have another layer of dirt and a flagstone floor again.
We had to handball everything out, and we discovered the 10-litre paint bucket. It sounds so primitive, but that place was emptied using 10-litre plastic paint buckets.
I just feel that there's so much there is part of other people's histories, say from the late 1800s, early 1900s, as these places were then used for storage, and then probably later on as the storage site disappeared, people were using it as a tip. And so you found all these vases, you found plates, you found cups, you even found nearly whole dinner sets.
I found a chemist bottle, Green's Pharmacy, and in a previous life I worked as a pharmacist, so I love the old medicine bottles, and especially when they have the name of the pharmacies on them, because you can go and do some research on the history of the pharmacy. So I found that quite interesting.
During the years we've been excavating the Paddington cellars and the house site, we've actually found an enormous quantity of interesting artefacts, and an awful lot of them we have out on display, and I know that our visitors love to see them, and it's a history lesson, nothing particularly valuable, but it spans so many years, you know, from Victorian times right up to 1930s, 40s. And it's all lovely to see, but personally it's the digging and the tunnels that appeals to me most.
We were doing a paranormal with a group called Ghosts at Midnight over at Paddington, and in the long chamber where all the dolls' heads are, I was sitting by the dolls' heads, and when you think you can see a shadow, 99 tricks. Bear in mind it was dark. Then when I looked again, there was this white thing in my face. 4 times I turned around and it was there, and the only way I can describe it, it was a face, but it was distorted, so I couldn't say whether it was male or female. And when I asked for the torch to go on, because I thought maybe someone's sitting a bit too close, the torch went on, there was no one there. I was out there like a bat out of hell, shaking. I went back down with another group, Merseyside Paranormal, same chamber, but where all the chairs are stacked up at the end. There it was again. And I have never been involved with the paranormal since. I am on the top man, and that's it. No, don't do it.
My favourite part part of the whole site has got to be the Paddington Complex. It's absolutely brilliant. You go down one level, another level, and how many more? It's just amazing to see. And to think it was all cut out by hand. And it's a good place to be. I like it. It's my favourite.
We didn't have any idea what this place was until we physically got to the bottom and emptied it out. This chamber, 12 metres deep, and when we reached the bottom we found this stone floor the way it is. There are 3 large blocks of stone here, all being worked on at the same time by the quarrymen. They channel out around a block of stone just using a pickaxe. Enormous amounts of work just for one man with a pickaxe. And then what they do next is they drill a series of holes in a straight line, put in the steel wedges, and then a man would tap them down a little bit at a time with a sledgehammer until a block of stone breaks off.
No, I definitely reckon being involved with Paddington from start to finish was one of the most amazing experiences I've had.
Well, in the process of emptying Paddington from beginning to end over 4 years, we actually filled 159 skips, and we put about 12 tonnes in each as far as we can estimate.
But there's all those little nooks and crannies where something's being created, but it doesn't go anywhere, it just stops. It's like creating a little niche in the side, but it can be ornate in simple brickwork. It's just there. So there's little things just dotted around that fascinate you, and you want to know more, and you want to find more, and you want to just keep going to see. Obviously, if we can find every tunnel, it'd be great.
Well, the Great Tunnel is one of those things that feels a bit like a myth. The search for the Great Tunnel, it's like looking for the Holy Grail. But we know it isn't a myth.
What makes the project interesting for me is that there are areas that are uncharted, unmapped, unknown. And I've been around on a couple of occasions when we've discovered features that we didn't even realise were there or even anticipated. So it's the unknown and being able to explore.
We're doing regular visits for small groups in normal times, up to 10 people, a couple of tours a day on Wednesdays and Sundays, which are the 2 days when the volunteers are on site. We will do tours on other days by arrangement.
There were people outside, but it was completely dark. And I just thought, just standing in quiet, and you hear the water dripping. Completely pitch black. Couldn't hear anything else but just the water dripping.
All you've got to do is sign up and become a member, and you could be here digging with the rest of us. You need to be a member so that you're covered for insurance purposes to be part of the volunteer group. But other than that, if you're fit and healthy and you don't mind getting dirty and working hard, then you're welcome to come along and join us.
It's trying to work out, I think, exactly what he did, because there's not enough information.
Whatever's still left of it, we want to make sure that it's saved. And we'd like as many people as possible to be able to come down here and view it and appreciate it like we do.
Right, the tunnels are amazing, but it's also very addictive.
Fantastic history.
Project for me and my involvement in it, I would sum up as very addictive.
Magical and mysterious.